So I'm getting ready to go in and see the Bob's Burgers movie. And that is something I never thought I would say because I could care less about Bob's Burgers. But I saw the trailers. I'm like, okay, this looks like fun. Doesn't look like it'll be terrible. Probably be funny and entertaining to a certain degree. It's like the Simpsons movie, which I never saw in theaters. Or maybe like the South Park movie, again, which I never saw in theaters because I was too young at the time. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to check out the show, see what people are talking about because I really had no idea. I watched maybe 3 or 4 episodes. I was like, okay, this doesn't really do anything for me. So I've gone back. I started from season 1. And yeah, I watched season 1. I'm like, what's the big deal about this show? It's not that good. I'm not really entertained by it. It's not that funny. So then I started going on to the second season and I'm like, okay, this is definitely entertaining. Still not the show for me. I wanted to get through all the seasons before I came and saw the movie, but there's like 8 or 9 seasons of it. I can't remember exactly how many. And that's a lot of TV to get through. And if I'm being honest, the show just doesn't really grab me like some other ones. Like, I love Family Guy. Yeah, it's not great, but that's a show I love and I can keep watching and I'm entertained. The Simpsons, yeah, I'm into The Simpsons, but again, I'll watch it, but it's not one that I'm waiting for every single week. Bob's Burgers, I'm just like, okay, this is the low man on the totem pole. I'm still waiting to be really, really entertained by it. But obviously, like I said, I didn't get as far as I wanted to, but the movie's out. I'm in the mood for some laughter. I love musicals, so there should be plenty of music in this, I've heard, especially with there being music in the show. Like I said, just want to laugh, just want to be entertained. I have really no expectations for this movie whatsoever. The animation is definitely going to be better already, I can tell based on the trailers. But yeah, I feel like I should have a burger in my hand, eating it as I'm talking, or even later on in this review. But yeah, just given time, that's not going to happen. I thought about it though. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to go in, get my own food and drink. Well, in this case, just drink. And see what is entertaining about this. I was going to go see Maverick, I thought about. But I just figured that's probably a movie everybody was going to. It's going to be for people who grew up with Top Gun, which I didn't. So I thought, you know what? Let's go see a movie that probably not as many people will see. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking right now and hopefully go enjoy this movie. I'll see you afterwards. So by the time the movie started, I was thinking maybe I should have gone to Top Gun Maverick just because there were a lot more people in the Bob's Burger movie than I was expecting. And some of the kids were awfully young. I really thought this was a R-rated movie, but apparently it's PG-13 because the audience was everybody from young kids, again, that I thought probably shouldn't be there, to, I don't know who the oldest person in there would have been, but there were definitely a lot of, I'd say, people or kids between their teens into their 30s, kind of like me, which that was the group I was expecting to be there. But I also find it funny, as I was going into the movie, I was thinking about, wait a minute, this is a Disney movie now, because Fox is owned by Disney, so I can get points on my Disney rewards for seeing this movie, even if it's bad. Yay! Yeah, I know that's kind of cheesy, but hey, we do what we gotta do. And maybe I can get a Marvel poster. Anyway, you didn't start watching this video to hear all that. So, what did I think of the Bob's Burgers movie? It was actually pretty entertaining. It was actually quite fun, quite enjoyable. It was a lot more sophisticated than I thought it would be. Yes, you heard me, sophisticated. Now, it wasn't like sophisticated, like it was high art or anything. But to be honest, I was expecting, I think, more just to have fun, maybe some butt jokes, some fart jokes, kind of like the stuff that you would see on the show at times, or even on The Simpsons, Family Guy, South Park, because I don't know like I said in the intro, what all they do in later seasons of Bob's Burgers. But there was an actual story to it. There was so much more in this movie than what they let on in the trailer. And I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but let's just say that they allude to stuff going on. And there was much more to this story than I was expecting. So I have to applaud the creators and the storyboard writers and the script writers, I mean, for all they did with this, because this movie was a lot better than it had any right to be. I was expecting, like I've said, the level of the Simpsons movie or the South Park movie, which really does make me want to continue to watch Bob's Burgers and see how it progresses, if it actually gets really, really good in later seasons. But I got other things to watch. But that being said, voice talent here was still top notch. They obviously know their characters. They've been with them long enough. They evolved. I really felt like this movie, yes, it was Bob's movie because his name's in the title, but I really felt like this was a Bob's movie and Louise movie because they were the focus. It seemed what they accomplished or their goals was really what drove this movie forward. Yes, everybody else had their own accomplishments or their own goals, but it really seemed like Bob and Louise were the focal point of this movie. And that was really interesting. And I'm really curious now to kind of watch the next season of the show to see how much this movie will tie in, what they'll keep, just all the relationships, to see how much further they'll go with the show after this movie. Because sometimes they tie things right in with movies like this. And other times, it's just a movie. Don't include it in your canon head for the show. But that being said, they did a lot of character development in this movie. I was surprised how much they did. And you really got an idea of who these characters were. Even if you'd never seen the show, you pretty much knew right off the bat the type of characters they were. Though I will admit, some of them might have been a little bit of time before you actually understood who they were, if you didn't watch any of the show at all. But at the base level of the characters, they're simple enough that you don't really need that, but you understand, okay, father, mother, children, you understand this. You understand, okay, of course, now the names of the kids just go right on my head. Yeah, you understand the one has a crush on the one guy, the one boy. You understand Gene, that's he's out there, just kind of crazy on his own level. You understand Louise has a very strong personality, very strong feelings about certain things, but she doesn't care, or at least that's the way she pretends to. And yeah, it's really gonna bug me that I can't remember the other kid's name. Anyway, but yeah, they do a real good job in continuing the stories, as far as I know, from what I've watched in the show. They develop the characters more. Like I said, I want to see where this continues with the show itself. The animation, yeah, they clearly had a much higher budget for this movie because the animation is really good. It's a much higher quality than the show. I wish they could do this in general with just TV animation. You know, maybe find a way to do this level of animation on a TV budget. That would be great. And I'm not just talking about Bob's Burgers, I'm just talking in general. Whether you brought it to other shows like American Dad or Family Guy or Simpsons, like all the ones I've mentioned, or I'm trying to think of another one. Yeah, those are the only ones that stick in my head. That would be great because the animation here was really well done. I had a lot of fun with it. The one thing I found myself surprisingly a little disappointed with, and this was just me, I built this up in my head. I'm like, okay, there's going to be music. The cast interview that I saw made me think, okay, there's going to be music throughout. Don't get your hopes up, because that kind of is basically one song per episode, in the idea that, okay, in with how long the movie is, cut that up into episodes, and there's about one song per episode, maybe one less. But I will say, two of the songs are really good, really enjoyable. I've started listening to them again. The one is hard to understand because of the type of character that's singing it. You understand why, but at the same point, I wish I could have understood a little bit better. Part of that might have been because of everybody laughing. But, so yeah, that was on me. I was expecting more music than what I got, especially at times where you could really, really hear the music. It was really standing out, and you're like, okay, are we getting a song? Are we getting a song? And we don't. I think that was probably one of those times where the score overshadowed what was going on screen, and therefore it just gave you this idea that, hey, we're going to have some music, we're going to have dancing and singing, and you don't get that. And that can be a bad thing. You're making people expect something and you don't deliver, or they're so focused on the score because that's what they can easily hear, that they probably or maybe aren't spending as much time on what the characters are saying, or it's harder to hear because the music's higher up. That is really my only main complaint with this movie, because overall I really enjoyed it. I was surprised by how much fun I had with this movie. I would not mind seeing it again. Now, if you're not a Bob's Burgers fan, you're probably not going to see this movie. You're probably not really going to care about it. If you are, you're going to see it. If you're somewhere in the middle, kind of like I was, I would recommend checking it out. Because even if the show isn't for you, disregard the show and just watch this as its own movie, its own story, with its own set of characters, own arcs. And you'll find, I think it's a much better, entertaining film than what you are expecting. It's not just the dumb jokes or dumb puns, which all that stuff's in there. But there is actually a story, and that's what I've stressed through this entire review. There is a story here, which I wasn't expecting, but I loved it. The one other thing that I might say as a negative about this film, I did start to feel the runtime. And when your movie's like just an hour and 40 minutes, maybe the movie itself is an hour and a half because of credits, that's not a good thing. That's not to say that, again, stuff wasn't good, but there was a point where I started to feel like, okay, I feel like they're dragging some of this stuff out. Let's get going. Let's continue with the plot. This movie also definitely has a lot more action in it than the show does, which, based on one of the interviews I watched, the writers and actors and screenwriters, just everybody involved, loved that they could go further with the movie than they could the TV show. And that's perfectly understandable. And it shows. So, would I recommend the Bob's Burgers movie? I think it's pretty clear that, yeah, I would. Now, would I say go see it on the big screen? I enjoyed it. I liked it. And I had a fun time with everybody around me, which I will admit at first there were a lot of people talking, a lot of people on their phones, and I got really, really nervous. But that all stopped when the movie started. And the kids were actually pretty well behaved. And it actually made for a rather amusing and good time because, yeah, there was a lot of laughter. People were chatting a little bit at times, laughing at the movie. So there were times where maybe I didn't hear everything. But the same thing happened with the Avengers. Like, when I first saw Avengers, I missed the puny god line because everybody was laughing from Hulk smashing Loki back and forth. So I'll probably see this movie again. I'll probably watch it again when it comes out on whatever streaming service it's going to come out on. I don't know if it'll be on Disney Plus, or I'll rent it. Will I go back and see it in theaters? Maybe. I don't know. But it's definitely a fun, entertaining movie if you just want to turn off your brain for a while and just have a smile, but have good characters, a good plot. with some catchy tunes, then I can definitely recommend this movie. So now I'm going to quickly get into one or two spoilers about this movie. So, for anybody who doesn't want anything spoiled with this movie, what's my ranking for it? I think I'm going to give it a sidekick because I do recommend this movie. It's, like I said, it's a lot of fun. It's a good story. The characters are great. The music, for the most part, is upbeat and uplifting. There's no slow moments for it. So yeah, I would recommend going to see this movie. Maybe not at evening prices, but maybe on a matinee. That would be worth it. And for me personally, I wouldn't take young kids to it unless they've watched the show and you're okay with that. That's up to you. So, I will catch you guys on the next video. And remember, read what you love, enjoy what you love, and let's all work for a better fandom. Now, for the rest of you who have decided to stay around because you've seen the movie or you don't care about spoilers for this movie, let's talk really briefly about the plot that I didn't want to talk about earlier. And that's the whole mystery plot here. The whodunit, the murder mystery. Was not expecting that at all. That is nowhere in the trailers, at least as far as I could tell. I never got that impression from it, and I loved it. I loved the fact that I didn't know this was going to be a murder mystery. I didn't know what was going to happen, and that's one of the reasons it got a higher score, because it exceeded my expectations with that addition to it. Now, I'll admit, it was kind of obvious who the bad guy was, though not right away. I mean, you clearly knew the guy that got accused was not the guy who did it. But then slowly as things started to develop and you got more into the mystery and you started to learn more bits and pieces, and you find out that it's their lawyer, it's like, oh, well, yeah, he makes perfect sense. Like, duh. Or you start to be like, I'm pretty sure it's him. So that was like, okay, yeah, sure, I guess. The lawyer did it. It said the butler did it, the lawyer did it. So that was like, okay, a little disappointing, but the rest of the story, how they got to that point, made it all worthwhile. I mean, especially when you get that car chase then underneath the pier, which was fantastic. And just all those different moments, the interactions between Bob and his wife. Again, I can't believe I forget their names. That was good. The interactions they had there with, in the car when they were getting buried, all these different things that were coming out, finding out about Louise and her ears. That was great. I loved that idea. And it really does give you this idea that memories are what we make it, as I pointed out on another video on this channel. And I really do hope that these things we got from this movie do move forward, like I mentioned, into the new seasons and onward for however long Bob's Burgers goes on. And yeah, I feel like there was another spoiler or something, but it was really that whole mystery and whodunit that I was not expecting from this film. So anyway, let me know down below, what did you guys think of this movie? And if for some reason you stayed through the spoilers and you haven't seen it, well, why do you do that? But down below, what's your expectation now for the movie? Are you a fan of Bob's Burgers as a TV show? What's your experience or your level of knowledge when it comes to the show? Whatever your thoughts, comment down below. Let me know. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And like I said before, don't forget to read what you love, enjoy what you love, and let's all work for a better fandom. I'll see you next time. Tina. The other kid's name's Tina. Oh, I'm such an idiot.